The Medium has been one of my most anticipated games of the last few years. As a longtime fan of survival horror games, especially classics like Silent Hill and Fatal Frame, I was excited to see a modern take on this iconic genre. But did this psychological horror title live up to my lofty expectations? This is Miles with Windows Central Gaming, and here's my review of The Medium on Xbox Series X. The most important element of any good psychological horror game is a compelling story filled with nuanced characters and layered interactions. The Medium focuses heavily on the accounts of Mary Ann as she tries to reconstruct the memories of her past. The slower, deliberate pacing of cutscenes and world exploration makes this descent into madness, grief, and unimaginable tragedy feel more like playing a devastating horror film in the vein of Hereditary or The Lodge than revisiting games like Silent Hill or Alone in the Dark. As a massive horror movie buff, this is one of the greatest compliments I can give to The Medium. Not only did I find myself enthralled by the mystery of Mary Ann's strange supernatural history, but I was also captivated by the possibilities of an expanded Medium universe. I wanted to know everything there was to know about Mary Ann, her family, and the tortured souls you encounter along the way. The moment I finished my first playthrough, I immediately wanted to dive back in and do it all again. And as someone who's completed 2 playthroughs of The Medium so far, I would highly recommend you do the same if you want to fully unpack all the subtleties of this haunting experience. It's also worth noting that this game touches on some serious and incredibly heavy subject matter, so keep that in mind before playing. I won't go into any specifics, because I genuinely believe the story and how it's presented through new and innovative gameplay mechanics is the biggest achievement for The Medium, and I wouldn't want to take those initial discoveries away from anyone jumping into this game for the first time. If you're a fan of cryptic character dissections, as opposed to more on-the-nose or in-your-face exposition, chances are you'll love the delicate examination of the darkest recesses of the human psyche presented in this title. Another component of a successful psychological horror game The Medium masters throughout its 6 to 8 hour story is world and atmosphere presentation. The environment design team at Bloober consistently delivers engaging and stirring locales for you to explore. High-quality textures and ray tracing makes each of the distinct areas feel grounded and authentic, which goes a long way in supplying immersive, intricate backdrops into your foray into this world of faded nostalgia. Settings like the Neva Resort, where a good chunk of the game takes place, were based on and modeled after real-world locations. A meticulous level of care is on display in every frame, and this attention to small details makes The Medium one of the most gorgeous horror games I've ever played. To help fully showcase the scope of The Medium's dark beauty, the entire game is presented through fixed camera angles. This will definitely be a bit jarring for some players, especially if you've never experienced the infamous tank controls of Resident Evil or Silent Hill. But I loved how cinematic this made every moment feel. You never miss a tense scare or subtle environment clue because your camera was facing the wrong direction. For those worried about how this makes controlling Mary Ann feel, thankfully, some modern enhancements and quality of life features for mobility keep things rather intuitive. Seeing this iconic perspective properly revisited in a contemporary horror game gives me hope for its big comeback. The Medium is undoubtedly a visual spectacle in many ways, but there are a few areas I feel some players might be slightly disappointed by, considering this is the first true Xbox Series X and S exclusive. Let's start with the elephant in the room. The Medium is not 60 FPS on Xbox Series X, and the official spec sheet for PC doesn't list anything above 30 FPS. From our performance analysis, the game seems to hover around the 35 to 40 FPS mark during most sequences. The target here is definitely 30 FPS, especially during the dual reality sections of the game. With fixed camera angles and generally slower pacing, I ultimately think players will be able to look past this after the first 5 or 10 minutes, but it is worth mentioning for all the newfound 60 FPS purists out there. Many horror fans have been hyping up the medium as the spiritual successor to Silent Hill. And while it's clear the game pulls plenty of inspiration from that series, there are major differences between what Silent Hill is and what the medium wants to be. The lack of dedicated combat will absolutely be a divisive design choice. While Marianne has some impressive supernatural powers at her disposal, there isn't much in the way of action outside of a few tense chase sequences. The pacing of the medium is deliberately very slow and methodical. While I wouldn't go as far as to say that this was an issue I personally had with the game, the focus on story over combat will likely be a complaint for many players. I've been very deliberate in my approach to avoid key story details in my review. I want players diving into the medium for the first time to genuinely form and build their own character theories, as that was my favorite element of the game. That being said, and without touching on any spoilers, the ending will be polarizing. I can't wait for more players to play this, so I can bounce ideas off other horror enthusiasts. But after sitting on the grand finale for a few days now, I'm still not quite sure how I feel. There will certainly be some passionate discussions about the ending of the medium.
And now it's yours. You'll need it.
As a huge horror fan, and someone who's played basically every previous Bloober Team title, I can confidently say that the medium is hands down this studio's biggest triumph. Innovative gameplay ideas like dual reality puzzle solving and immaculately designed environments elevate this above many other titles in the genre. Instead of trying to replicate a formula from the past, the medium blazes forward with bold new ideas and innovative mechanisms for character-focused storytelling. Despite the fact that the medium wears its Silent Hill inspirations on its sleeves through fixed camera angles, heady psychological horror, and themes of two distinct realities, the medium is not Silent Hill, and players who go in wanting it to be will leave disappointed. But instead of critiquing a game for what you want it to be, I implore players to embrace the medium for the genuinely captivating vessel of horror storytelling that it is. Sound off, horror fans! Will you be playing the medium at launch? Let us know in the comment section below. And if you enjoyed this video, go ahead and hit that like button. For more Xbox and PC content, be sure to subscribe to our channel. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll catch you in the next video.